If you try to sell a diamond ring back to a jewelry store today, you will face a devastating reality. Diamonds are not rare, they are not valuable, and they are almost impossible to resell. So why does humanity spend billions on them? Because one company didn't just build a monopoly, it built a mindset. And the greatest illusion in marketing started long before you ever walked into that store. Walk into a jewelry store and you are presented with a masterpiece of value. But the moment you walk out, that value vanishes. If you try to sell a typical $5,000 diamond ring tomorrow, you will likely receive pawn offers between $400 and $800, returning a meager 10 to 20% of what you paid. That is an immediate loss of 80 to 90% on your asset. In any other financial market, a sudden drop this steep indicates a bad investment or a completely worthless product. Yet the public continues to buy, treating these carbon structures as physical symbols of absolute permanence and wealth. This massive disconnect exposes a stark mystery of consumer psychology. Why does a mineral with almost zero real-world liquidity feel completely priceless when the market treats it as otherwise? The answer lies not in the geological rarity of the stone, but in a systematic campaign of perception engineering. Behind this illusion stands one central cartel: De Beers. They did more than mine the physical stones. They quietly constructed the global belief system that forced us to value them. The artificial scarcity of the diamond market began with a crisis of sudden, overwhelming abundance. In 1866, a 15-year-old boy found a shiny pebble on the banks of the Orange River near Hopetown, South Africa. It was a 21-carat diamond. By 1867, a massive deposit was discovered in Kimberley, sparking a frantic diamond rush. Thousands of prospectors flooded the region, digging up stones by the ton. Historically, diamonds were genuinely rare, sourced only from scarce riverbeds in India and Brazil. Now, South Africa was flooding the global market. This sudden deluge threatened to destroy the entire industry. If anyone could buy a diamond for pennies, the stone lost its prestige and the market would collapse. The solution required absolute, centralized control. Cecil Rhodes arrived in Kimberley in 1871 and spent 17 years systematically buying out rival claims. On March 12, 1888, he merged his holdings with his largest competitor, Barney Barnato, to form De Beers Consolidated Mines. By the following year, this single syndicate controlled roughly 90% of the world's rough diamond output. Rhodes realized a simple economic truth. To make diamonds valuable, they had to be rare. And to make them rare, he had to control the flow. When Ernest Oppenheimer took control of De Beers in the late 1920s, he formalized this supply control. Oppenheimer established the Central Selling Organization in the early 1930s. This entity functioned as a global gatekeeper. Mining companies worldwide sold their rough stones directly to the cartel. The cartel then stockpiled the excess in London vaults, releasing only a predetermined, limited quantity to a selective group of buyers 10 times a year. This artificial system replaced the free market. By turning a geological flood into a highly disciplined drip, De Beers ensured the public saw only scarcity, while the vaults remained full of hidden supply. Controlling the physical supply of diamonds was only half the battle. If people stopped wanting them, the vaults of London would simply hold very expensive, glittering gravel. By the late 1930s, De Beers faced a catastrophic drop in demand. The Great Depression had shattered the luxury market, leaving diamonds looking like an outdated, optional indulgence. To survive, the cartel needed to conquer the human mind. In 1938, they hired the Philadelphia advertising agency N.W. Ayer and Son with a chillingly ambitious directive: make diamonds an absolute psychological necessity for marriage. The agency's strategy was brilliant and predatory. They did not sell the physical qualities of the stone. They engineered an inescapable social script. They targeted the proposal ritual itself, linking a man's financial sacrifice directly to his masculine duty, his commitment, and his peers' social approval. In 1947, a young copywriter named Frances Garrity sat at her desk late at night and scribbled 4 words on a piece of paper: "A diamond is forever." This single phrase fused the physical durability of a mineral with the abstract concept of eternal romance. Suddenly, a diamond was no longer a luxury asset to be traded or evaluated. It was an emotional pledge that could never be sold without betraying the promise of love. But the masterstroke of this behavioral programming came in the form of a mathematical formula. N.W. Ayer introduced a guideline that became a cultural law: the salary rule. What began as a suggested spend of 1 month's salary in the 1930s was dialed up to a 2-month benchmark by the 1980s. In Japan, a market with zero historical connection to diamonds, De Beers modified the script to suggest 3 months' salary. This arbitrary marketing metric became a self-inflicted tax on courtship. If a man spent less, he was publicly signaling that his love or his career potential was deficient. Through these calculated psychological anchors, De Beers achieved the ultimate corporate triumph. They bypassed the consumer's rational brain, transforming an aggressive advertising campaign into an inherited family tradition. They had successfully authored the global language of romance. But this language of romance was designed to do more than trigger a purchase. It was engineered to stop diamonds from ever returning to the market. If consumers could easily resell their jewelry, the illusion of scarcity would shatter overnight. A thriving secondary market would flood the world with millions of pre-owned stones, bypassing the cartel's supply gates and driving retail prices down to their true mineral value. To prevent this, De Beers had to ensure that once a diamond was bought, it was taken out of circulation permanently. This is where sentimentality serves a cold, clinical, economic purpose. The tagline, "A diamond is forever," is not just a romantic promise, it is a behavioral lock. By linking a geological structure directly to eternal love, the advertising made the act of selling a ring feel like a betrayal of the marriage itself. Pre-owned diamonds are framed as emotionally non-transferable, tainted goods that carry the ghost of someone else's failed relationship, rendering them culturally worthless to new buyers. For the consumer, this creates a psychological and financial trap. The moment you walk out of the boutique, your asset is effectively locked in. When owners attempt to liquidate their diamonds during financial hardship, they discover the brutal reality of the buyback market. Jewelers and pawn shops offer insulting fractions of the original retail price, typically returning only 10 to 20% of the initial cost. A $5,000 ring routinely fetches a mere $400 offer. Approved dealer agreements even forbid direct buybacks, shutting down any escape hatch. This suppression is a highly successful form of market preservation. By convincing the public to hoard their stones in safety deposit boxes and family drawers, the cartel relies on the consumer to act as an unpaid vault keeper. They keep the global supply tightly restricted, maintaining the myth of rarity through enforced possession. Today, the primary threat to this engineered value system is not a rival cartel, but technological parity. In high-tech reactors, scientists now grow stones that are chemically, physically, and optically identical to mined diamonds, dismantling the claim of geological rarity. Yet these lab-grown diamonds retail for roughly 80% less than their natural counterparts. As these synthetic stones capture nearly half of the U.S. engagement market, they expose a strange paradox. When two physically identical objects carry vastly different price tags, value is no longer about the physical mineral. It is entirely about the depth of your belief. The brilliance of the diamond relies entirely on our willingness to believe the lie. Now that the machinery of engineered desire lies exposed, will you ever look at that sparkling stone the same way again? Subscribe to unmask more corporate illusions.